Hey, what's up everybody? Bdf 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so I figured I'd make a video since I got time to spare. I realize I do. I'm sitting up here like, oh, I gotta hurry up and get back. I'm gonna be sitting there for hours. I do not need to hurry up and get back. But yeah, man, I'm having a good time with my morning. As I was telling you guys in the last video, I slept pretty well and woke up feeling pretty good. No complaints. Still have yet to check into the room, but I'm gathering everything I need to pay for it now. And my stuff is in the lobby as always. Same old routine, ain't nothing new. Doesn't even feel uncomfortable, to be honest with you, at this point. I've done it so many times. This is a normal life. Thankful the Lord has allowed for me to have good health when these processes come around, because a lot of times, obviously, if you're sick or if something's wrong, this would be a very difficult process. So the Lord has made it very, very favorable for me to always be able to be healthy enough each and every time to do this. And so I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, man, you know, I just been thinking about like some of the stuff that's going on in the world is trying to pin us against one another. I mentioned this very recently, this story with the Asian store owner that was acquitted for shooting the black young man who was alleged to have stolen a water bottle for which he did not, as it turned out. That whole story is just, it's ugly because people are starting to, you know, kind of voice their opinions and maybe some frustrations that have come about in their own personal lives as it pertains to visiting Asian businesses as black people and stuff like that. And, you know, I mean, I think at the end of the day, black people have always had a culture that tends to conflict with a lot of people's cultures, our pain and our way of expressing ourselves, colorful, loud, confident, unapologetic. You know, we've been through a lot, so we're strong in a lot of cases. A lot of what we have gone through has made us worse. In some cases, people have, you know, we've had, especially in this Western world, education removed from a lot of our communities, poison being pushed to a lot of our communities, and that has also kind of played a role into the image of African Americans and African people of many cultures. And you know, it doesn't always vibe well with other people. Sometimes they believe the hype about us. Sometimes they've seen enough of us in our worst and start to lump us with one another. And this is something I was raised not to do. My mother used to often say, never, so where she used to use, don't generalize. That was like a big thing for her in my upbringing. Don't generalize. Not everybody's the same. Not everybody's the same. And she drilled that in my head in such a way that I found myself understanding that you shouldn't, as I walk past a white man who locks his door when I walk by. But like, it's one of those situations where you start to understand, like, people look at us like we are going to express our worst, and a lot of times people represent us in a way that you know, reinforces that stereotype. And you know, it's incumbent upon all of us to start thinking that, just because you've met one person or 100 people or 1,000 people doesn't mean that you met everybody. And the one time that you act in that way that expresses your understanding that you think you know everybody, that's going to be the one time you run into somebody that doesn't apply to, and you're going to be wrong, and you're going to treat a good person a bad way. And I think there's a spiritual component to all of these things as well, where the enemy of God always wants to have people at war with one another. The people who represent the enemy of God are going to often try to stir up mess with what it is they control to try to get people to be at war with one another. Then I think that we're always under attack, man. And not just black people, but people in general are always under attack, and they use our differences and our lack of understanding culturally of one another to try to bring about some understanding that we can't trust one another, that we shouldn't do business with one another, and that we should be at war with one another. And I just want to say, like, regardless of my path in life or my fate, whatever, I don't want anybody to look at anything that happens with me or to me or in whatever way life would go for me and say he represents all black people, or that whatever went wrong represents a certain people that may have done that wrong. You know, not to speak life into anything bad, but I live in America, man. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Race first. Like I just said, as I'm having this conversation, I walked past a man who locks his door. He didn't lock his door until any point until he saw me walking by. It's like, it's degrading, but it just reinforces what it is that I'm talking about. Like, they think the worst of us. And most importantly, a lot of times people are projecting because they have the worst intentions toward us. So they automatically believe in a lot of cases that we have the worst intentions toward them. You know, they're buying the hype or a combination of many different things. But as a black person, I can legitimately say that I've never looked to take anything from anybody or take someone's rights or force myself upon people or any of that type of stuff. My mother raised me to respect people's differences, to respect people's, cultures, and respect people's space. And I've carried that with me. That's something that I've been fortunate enough to be raised with by a woman who valued human life, who valued self-respect, talked often about class and koof as it pertains to carrying yourself with class. And someone who said, money is not my God. You know, she raised me to understand that money is not your God. You know, we serve a living God, and you can't buy your way into his heaven. And so these are the type of things that carry me and forward. And I respect that maybe a lot of people weren't raised with that type of love in their life, weren't raised with that type of consideration of humanity in their lives. And they don't have that foundation from which to take out to the world and share with other people. Some people are raised, in ways that I probably wouldn't thrive in. And they have to try to thrive themselves in that, with that type of foundation. And it gives forth some biases and some jadedness and a lack of faith, a lack of belief in humanity, and a lack of a desire to invest in the goodness of humanity. And that's what we're always dealing with. A lot of us in this world, regardless of our race or our religion, have to be in an environment with those type of people who don't want the best for us and don't care to share any of what they have with us, or whatever, give us a fair shot, or whatever the word would be. And so that's just what it is. We got to live understanding that people are raised differently, understanding that sometimes ethics and morals are opposite to one another. People are indoctrinated. As we're learning about a lot of different cultures, we find out that some people are, indoctrinated so early to believe that they're either better than somebody else or worse than somebody else. Got to stand on somebody else's shoulders, or otherwise capitulate to somebody else in order to get what it is they should have. And I was in my meditation phase last night, as I was telling you guys in my previous video, a good 2 hours. And one of the things that I was thinking about was, and I often told you guys this on this channel, but it's like, as a creative, as an artist, as somebody who, does this broadcasting thing on my own channel and all that, very fortunate, very thankful. But because I have a certain unapologetic nature to my humanity as it pertains to speaking against the powers that be and what it is that they do, not necessarily wanting to play the political safe game with them, that a lot of people who want to be successful in this life feel they have to play or must play. And because I wasn't raised to really prioritize being careful more so than being honest, I've accepted that there are certain levels of success that I may not need to dream about, for it will not be obtainable so long as I'm willing to speak the way that I speak and think, say the things that I'm willing to say. If there's a certain cap to what would otherwise be a very successful life in the areas that I thrive in and the things that I do. And I was just thinking, I am a privileged person from the West. I have a very good life in comparison to people who are living very difficult lives. So far be it from me to say woe is me. I think of my ancestors, both natives and blacks, who were slaves and genocided and had to live on the run, or whatever the word would be for their circumstances. So far be it from me to sit up and say I got it so bad, because that's just bullcrap. But what I can say is it should be ridiculous for a person who believes that they are talented and can display a certain talent to think that just because he lives unapologetically as it pertains to calling out the evils of anyone who he decides to, anybody who does wrong, anybody who treats people poorly, whether they be the most powerful people or otherwise, that he should not be expected to reach the heights that would otherwise be available to someone who is successful in the things that he does. That there's something very wrong with that. And although I'm not unhappy with my own life, I feel like this is something that the world, us, humanity, needs to do something about. That I would love to be the last person who lives his life feeling like he can't be successful because he has a heart for humanity and a certain disdain for those who disgrace humanity with their evil intentions, and that they are in power, or that they are gatekeeping success, is something that puts a cap on my potential, so as I perceive it. Now, there are people who can be anomalies in that regard, find themselves being honest and still find a way to be successful, but I don't see many. Many of those people are capped off, or blocked out, or blackballed, as some would say, gate kept or whatever, outside of these circumstances of success, just because they're willing to speak out against that for which is not okay in the world. And so that's just something I was talking to God about last night, trying my very best to keep balance, to say this is not a woe is me conversation, but this is some bullshit conversation. And as I was saying to God in my own way, this ain't right. Even if I'm perceiving it wrong, that I would think that I should just say, you know what, I'm never going to be famous. I'm never going to be a billionaire. I'm never going to be able to reach success no matter how good I am at what it is I do, because I'm always going to have to choose my ethics and morals and my willingness to speak out against those who are doing wrong or success. And that so many people who are successful have to keep their mouths closed in regards to things that I want to be able to speak about if I have the platform or the voice that they have. And I think about some of my favorite celebrities, some of my favorite analysts, some of my favorite people in this world. They got to shut up as it pertains to what they see going on in the world, and it's considered responsible to do so, to keep their brand, to keep their legacy going, to keep their empires going. And I really resent that for them, and I resent that for the people who need their voice, who aren't getting it. You know, there are some people out there who are only interested in their own empires. There are people out there who could care less that there are people suffering elsewhere. They could care less if, whatever happens to someone else, not their business, if it's not their family or whatever. You got people out there who don't care about their own families, but you get the point. There are people out there who really only care about themselves, and they happen to be very comfortable maintaining the balance of being quiet and being able to sleep at night. I don't want to be able to sleep at night if the only way I'm going to be able to do so is to be fine with genocide, or fine with apartheid, or fine with racial supremacy, or fine with whatever it is I see that I know harms others. And it's one of those situations where I never went after certain things because I understood that I needed to accept that I was never going to be politically aligned with these people, that I was never going to stay disciplined within my willingness to kiss the behinds of those who are doing evil things, or shut my mouth to the things that they do. If I were to be given a big voice, the first thing I would want to do is to speak on these things, because they need attention. They need to be spoken. They need to be shed a light on. We can save lives if we had big voices ignoring the political process and just speaking out on the atrocities that are going on. Little voices like myself can't do anything, but big voices can sway entire cultures, can enact so much change. And that is why it's so important that those who control the world, who happen to idolize over hurting people and struggle and putting people through struggle, and try to stay at the top of a system that's designed to stand on the backs of poor people, stand on the backs of disenfranchised individuals, and that system itself just keeps them aligned with being fine with some people suffering while other people thrive. And it's like the only way forward. And I was listening to an individual that I know believes good things, that I even know speaks out on a lot of things, still believing because he's confined into this structure that he must choose a lesser of two evils as it pertains to politics. And it's a man who is speaking out against genocide, speaking out against the evils that take place with in our own country as it pertains to ICE and all of that, but still feels that he needs to align with Kamala Harris because he feels like a black woman needs to be in charge over a white man. And if the black woman is doing the evil that the white man is doing, that he'd rather the black woman be in charge. It's like, nah, the evil is evil, man. I'm not rolling with the lesser of two evils. I'm not picking a poison. I'm trying to survive. And I think it's a lack of faith that puts a lot of people in a position where they feel they have to align with what it is that's in front of them. Because they only believe in what they can see and touch, they feel like the only options they have is to choose the lesser of two evils or keep their mouths shut to maintain success. And the measures of man have people thinking those are the only measures to find. But the reality is, based on what it is I'm doing, I don't even measure life that way. Partially because I feel like I'm forced to either choose success or forego my ethics. Or maintain my ethics, rather choose success, forego my ethics, or maintain my ethics and forego success. But that has given me a desire to not measure things the way that man does. Oh, I need these numbers. Oh, I need this amount of people following me. Oh, I need to be what you consider successful in order to be successful in my own heart. I've had to psych myself away from even wanting those things because I don't believe they're obtainable. Not because I'm not talented enough to engage in those things or follow a path to success, but because I believe that path would ultimately be cut off. Because I believe that they've designed that path for people like myself to not be able to walk on it. And so that's what I wanted to say, man. It's like, yeah, would I love to be successful? I'd like to be in a nice place with nice things. Of course, I would like to see if my talent can take me far. Yeah, sure. But if by getting far, that means I have to be silent to the genocide in Gaza, I mean, what is a big voice if you can't use it for big things? What is a big voice if you're allowing for people to continue to step on the backs of people when you have the ability to do something about it? I don't know. But I can tell you I'm not aligning with what allows for that to continue. I'm not so brainwashed and indoctrinated in this Western thing that I'm going to sit back and watch somebody harm children and keep my mouth shut. So you want me to choose success and then be quiet while that's happening and passing forward that to our next generations? No, I can't do that. I can't do that. I won't be able to sleep when I do that. I hate myself in successful spaces. I'll be completely deteriorating as a human being with all the money in the world because I couldn't open my mouth to speak out against genocide. That's the type of celebrity I would end up being. I know that. Because that's the type of human being I am without success. And as you can clearly see. I can't tell you what to do, because if you were raised in a household where they tell you you better be responsible, get the money first, keep the money, that's the goal. But you're in this white man's world, so you better play what the white man do. If you want to make the rules, you better get all the money, get all the power, then you can make the rules. If that's the way you were raised, then of course you're going to think I'm irresponsible. You're going to think that I'm stupid. You're going to think there's no use in using your voice this way, because look at what using my voice has gotten me. And look how many people actually know what the hell I'm talking about. Very few, right? I get that that would be considered irresponsible and a waste of time to a lot of people. You can't change the world with just one voice. And I can do a lot more with billions of dollars than I can with a voice and a phone in my hand making $1,000 a month or whatever it is you're making. The reality is success is being able to both maintain wealth and speak out against genocide. In my book, if I can't do both and I'm choosing one, I'm definitely not choosing success. Definitely not. Y'all can count y'all money and watch kids die. I will be cool with not. I will be cool with not. I will be forced to choose, and I've made my choice. You want me to choose between lesser of two evils? I choose what comes with not choosing the lesser of two evils. That's the lesser of two evils. I'll stand still and stare at you before I do that. You see what I'm saying? So that's really how I feel. I think it's unfortunate that myself and others have to choose this way. I think it's very unfortunate that some people have chosen the way that they have. I think a lot of people have that drug selling mentality to where if I don't sell it to you, they'll find somebody else who will. If I'm not the celebrity, they'll find another me that will comply. So why not it be me? That's what a lot of people think. You know, it's like, yeah, I could get up here and use my voice, and they'll tear me down and prop up somebody else who won't use their voice. I might as well be that person that don't use their voice. Let me benefit from the mainstay of this system being as it is. That's how a lot of people think. And as a result, they're relaying forward the suffering that has been passed to them. And it only gets worse as more people comply to it. And the resistance is what's going to make it possible that no longer is in place. And if you're unhappy with that, then you need to be a part of the resistance, not necessarily that for what pushes it forward. That is, if you're unhappy with that, which many people are not. And they are indeed part of the problem. And if so many people behind them wouldn't have passed this forward to us, we wouldn't be seeing some of the things that we're seeing today that are so awful. But you got blood on your hands, and there will be more because of what you allow. And the complacency of an entire nation of people who aren't uprising despite so many different atrocities comes from the conditioning of the mind that came from so many being willing to comply over the course of time. Our country is not uprising like we should in regards to certain things that we are becoming aware of. We are not tearing buildings down. We are not pulling people out of these buildings who are doing this and that. We are not disrupting the course of actions that are ultimately atrocities in the world that affect others. We are standing still. We are behaving. We are being what we consider responsible, which is also equivalent to being compliant. And that is irresponsible if we're looking at things properly. But we are not. Not in this country. Now look at what they're doing in Albania. You try to steal their land, they tearing people's house down. We burning everything. You flesh and blood. We'll pull your ass up out of there. America got way more people. We're way more capable of doing something like that. Yet we are also way more obedient to the powers that be. Way more dependent on them and what it is they provide us. Way more attached to the creature cultures that ultimately they allow through their wealth and their influence. And that makes us a facilitator of the suffering that comes. We are effectively facilitating suffering by way of our compliance. And so if we're looking at things the way that we often do in our court system, and calling people accomplices to murder, accomplices to crimes, you must understand that I'm living in a time where we have an entire society of people that are accomplices to crime, accomplices to murder, mass murder, genocide, because we won't do anything about it. We have our ideas of how to be responsible wrapped up in our compliance. And we are so afraid of what happens when what it is that we have standing our system up falls apart, that we will allow other people to suffer so that those pillars can stand. And so when people say they cannot stand us, we should be comfortable with the reality of that, because we have done nothing to end the suffering of people based on what it is that we could have done versus what we thought was most responsible to keep our pillars standing. We don't have the culture of revolting like some of our ancestors may have displayed. We don't have the culture of change. We have the culture of compliance. We have the culture of capitalism. We have the culture of, I can't do nothing about it. I won't be ostracized. I will not be left out. And so we've pledged our allegiance to corporations and powers that be that want the worst for the world, want the worst for you and me. We have sworn our allegiance to continue to make them wealthy, continue to work for them, continue to die for them, continue to pay for whatever it is that they decide to do in the world. Killing people over here, destroying societies over there. So also we can maintain our supremacy in the world. And so when people say they hate America, we've given birth to that. We've given no love to them, so why should they not have hate for us? And you see what's going on in Sudan, you see what's going on in Congo, you see what's going on with the Tigray individuals in Somalia, you see what's going on with the Uyghurs in China, you see what's going on with the ICE in this country and how we treat our immigrants. You see all these atrocities, and yet you still continue to comply, you still continue to keep your mouth quiet, you still continue to push forward, paying into a system that does this to all these people. See what's going on in Albania, you hear about what's happening in Romania with the children, you hear about all these things, and you feel it's most responsible to just maintain your own bubble of comfort. And I'm telling you, you're deserving of being considered accomplices. And you can say indoctrination and brainwashing has made it so that it is the case. And so too will those who are engaging in genocide be able to say the same thing. Your consequences should come, though you feel like you were chosen, or you feel like you were coerced, or you feel like you had no choice. I know who didn't have a choice, and those were the victims to what it is that ultimately took place because of your behaviors. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. Everybody can say it's not their fault, but you know whose fault it's not? The people who suffered because of what it is that you allowed. It's not their fault. We can always sit here and say we've been brainwashed. We can always, all of us can sit here, and say, yo, I just didn't know any better. They didn't teach us any better. This is what was given to me. I only did the best I could. Everybody can say that about every bad thing they do. Sexual deviants can blame the porn industry and the black market for what inspired them to be evil. You can do that all day long, but accountability is going to be applied to those who do wrong, whether you did it consciously or were coerced into it, whether you were raised to be this way or decided to chase that later on. It don't really change the fact that there was you, and then there were victims because of you. And so for me, I try to be as cognizant to where I've been complicit to murder or complicit to the culture that keeps up the lack of resistance, and I say I want to change that with my voice. Every opportunity I get, regardless of how comfortable everyone is with other people suffering, I refuse to be comfortable with that. Regardless of how many people think it's responsible to chase money over ethics, I choose ethics over money. I'm not interested in money because money doesn't seem to be changing the world for the better for those who don't have it. People who have much greater caps on their levels of success than I have in my life in this Western world. I'm unhappy because I can't be wealthy without having to be complicit to genocide. Some people are just forced to die in genocides, as I was trying to allude to. There's levels to this. There's levels to oppression. You could be oppressed because they kept schools out of your communities and push poison into your communities. You could also be oppressed because you live in Congo and you don't have much of a community because they wiped you out when you were 5. And they pillaged your land and they R-worded your mothers and your sisters and killed all of y'all in mass, like they do in Palestine. You see what I'm saying? So it's levels of oppression, but at the end of the day, at the top of it all is somebody who's complicit with it, who can always fall back on the fact that they were raised to be that way. It becomes a time when a person has to take accountability for what it is that they were raised to do, if it hurts other people. And there comes a time when a society needs to put an end to those who refuse to be accountable, and for those who continue to push forward the culture of oppressing others. Now, I live in a country where they essentially look at me and say, I'm supposed to be grateful and thankful for all that I've been given. And I've never experienced slavery, so I have no right to be offended by slavery, and I need to stop rewinding, but more so fast forwarding, and lace up my bootstraps and be comfortable with the fact that, yeah, my ancestors were victims, but I am not that level of victim. Until you start peeling back the layers of white supremacy, you start to realize that, yeah, we may not have that level of oppression that our ancestors did, but we have a certain level of oppression that we're not actually cognizant of. And once we start to learn what that's about, then you start realizing you're victims to that. And I don't have a right to be unhappy with the atrocities that have been done to my people and that are still being done to other people right now, because it was passed forward without accountability. Because nobody put an end to that behavior, now it's being pushed upon new people in this times. And the same gaslighting and the same psychological warfare waged against me in regards to just being forced to align with it is the same psychological nonsense that's being pressed upon us to be aligned with what they're doing today. And be silent to the atrocities that they're engaging in that same vein elsewhere right now. Now I'm supposed to just sit back and be thankful it's not happening to me, and to be as responsible as possible to build my own wealth on the backs of others as they suffer. I will not be that person in this life. That's not responsible. The measures of man to tell me that's responsible. But when I talk to God, I don't find him telling me that's responsible at all. When I think critically and independently of what's been indoctrined in my mind, I realize that all of that is perverse. All of that was meant to make it so that it's possible they do the things they're doing in Palestine right now without us actually uprising. Are they doing, all these different things that they're doing right now? It's that we aligned with that indoctrination, that we attached ourselves to that as our being responsible, that made it so that they can do this without us tearing them up for doing so. You identified it, the hardwiring as it is, and you rewire it. That's what our responsibility is, not to sit up here and say we're wired this way and just keep going this way. No. Rewire your brain. Change your conditioning. Insert the culture of not taking it no more. Even though your ancestors and your great-grandparents were guilt-tripped into being fine with genocide of their own people or people adjacent to them or whatever, being trained as they were, and so they raised you to be trained as you are. We got to snap out of that shit, because we're seeing what it tumbles forward to. And if we could have told our ancestors who were compliant what was going to happen tomorrow, maybe they have a bit more urgency about taking care of what they needed to do yesterday to ensure it didn't happen. If they could see the bodies dropping from the Palestinians, maybe some more of those people would have stepped up and been unhappy with slavery at the time. Maybe more people would have said something if they would have realized they were passing that same fate to new generations. Many of us are compliant because we're only thinking about today. But if you could see what type of suffering comes from aligning with what it is that you do tomorrow for the youth, you'd have a different perspective on just how much killing is taking place because you're fine with it. How much death, how much suffering, how many losses. Over the course of time, we're relaying forward something that could kill millions of people, maybe annihilate the entire human race because of our complicity in modern days to what we see in our lives. That signals to all of those who are engaged in that stuff that they can continue to get away with it going forward. And they haven't stopped, obviously. So why do we think they're going to? Unless someone makes them who think this way understand that the consequences are too grave, that they will not be able to maintain if they continue to push forward that way. Now we will be capable of rewiring our thinking, no matter how well you indoctrinated us into thinking it's most responsible to be comfortable with genocide, that we could change our conditioning of the mind and move forward in a way that brings about an effective and swift resistance in the future. This is what I want to pass forward. And the next time someone wants to go ahead and annihilate an entire people, they can expect a culture that is much more likely to push forward responsibly than what it is that you've trained us to believe is responsible in allowing you to do it. I'm not afraid to stand up to the powers that be and say, your behavior is unacceptable. Accountability is lacking. You are not excused for being given this as a young person. That you will be held accountable for these behaviors. That's our responsibility in modern times. So rewire ourselves, accept that we were given a long-standing conditioning training that was meant to make it so that we are facilitating the suffering of others into the future, as well as the suffering of others in modern times. It is okay to be outraged at genocide and racial superiority. It is okay to look at long-standing conquered situations and say there still deserves justice for the suffering and for those who suffered in the name of this flag. Indigenous people of many kinds suffered so that American flag that I'm looking at could wave. A lot of people, black people, suffered so that we could build this country. No justice was found, and we're still being gaslit into thinking that we're supposed to celebrate that for which made it so all of that was possible. And because of it, that flag still waves for those same behaviors today. If you want me to get over something like that, you got to at the very least stop the behavior. You know what I'm saying? If you want to have redemption, the behavior must cease. And that's what this country has failed to do. They can tell all of us we need to get over what happened in the past, but they're still doing it today. And you can best believe they're going to do the same thing to those people, those who survive what it is they're doing. They're going to try to indoctrinate them the same way, to where they're celebrating. You imagine a bunch of Palestinian people pledging allegiance to the Israeli flag 200 years from now? That's exactly what white supremacy has planned for these people. And those that they don't kill, that's exactly what they have planned for them. Because that's what worked here. And you have a lot of people who are going to be Palestinian that are going to sit up and say, why are you not getting over what happened then? The few who are able to think for themselves are going to be ostracized and told that they have no way to reach success because look how they're not thankful for all that the Israeli flag has given them. Yeah, there was a genocide that made all that possible, but look at all the beautiful things that we've created in the Middle East. Look at all the opportunities you now have. We slowly but surely gave you your freedom, did we not? We slowly but surely allowed for you the right to vote, did we not? We gave you your reservations. You were able to raise your family in your spaces, are you not? Get over what happened in the past. Look at all the beautiful things we've built. Pay into this country because it's your responsibility as someone who benefits from it. And all of those different things that they're doing to us now is exactly what they're going to do to the Palestinian and Middle Eastern people tomorrow in the name of the Israeli flag if we continue to pass forward this same nonsense, man. How ridiculous is that, really? And then understand that we are living burdens of that exact reality. That I got descendants of the people who enslaved my people telling me that I'm ridiculous for looking at the past and being outraged by what took place. And in collective unison, basically told that I'm not responsible for even speaking this way. That it is useless that I do so. Because I can't change anything anyway. And the hypocrisy we live in, and then the agreed upon suffering that we pass forward to others. I am not oblivious to it. I am outraged by the things that happened to my ancestors. I don't have to get over it because there's been no justice applied to it. If somebody walks up and shoots down a man right now, you're going to want justice applied. But if people engage in all-out genocide and 400 years pass without any sort of accountability for it, suddenly we're all unreasonable for being outraged. You weren't genocide, your great-grandparents were. You didn't go through all that suffering, they did. You don't deserve anything for that. Mental gymnastics, psychological warfare, Stockholm syndrome conditioning, all of that is what they're going to continue to do elsewhere if we stay on the path we're on of allowing them to think that they've been successful in doing so long term. That's why I tell black people, as I mentioned the person at the beginning of this video, I ain't choosing someone who's aligned with genocide just because they black. Kamala Harris is married to a Zionist AIPAC lobbyist. She is not a black person. She has black skin, but she's indoctrinating white supremacy in such a way to where she would choose it over her skin every day. And there are many like her. And this process, this entire system, this entire process is going to give birth to more and more of those people. In different places where atrocities are taking place today, you're going to have people fighting and dying for the ability to keep that for which is built on the backs of their ancestors going. They will fight someone tooth and nail to assure that their oppressors continue to succeed. And they will guilt trip their fellow brothers and sisters into thinking that they need to do so as well. And I know better than to follow them anywhere. Just as I know better than to follow those who put them up to it. They're victims of mental suppression, child abuse in a lot of cases, just like we see so many Israelis victims of child abuse, indoctrinated to hate Arabs, indoctrinated to hate Muslim people. As early as soon as they come out the womb, they're given certain things that make it so that they align Arabic life and Arabic survival with something that's supposed to directly oppose their own. I was listening to somebody break down language circumstances as it pertains to Israeli taking Hebrew and then turning good words into bad words and bad words into good words, so that when they'd hear an Arabic person say a certain word, they would automatically hear horrible things. An Arabic person can mean something well when they say a certain word, but because they've twisted the language in their own way to make the words opposite of what they mean, you will then hear an Arabic person speaking good words and automatically hear curse words coming out of their mouths. It's a sickness. It's like making the word good a bad word, making the word love a bad word, and then teaching that to your kids at 2 and 3 years old when they first are able to read. And then they come across somebody who's constantly saying the word love and good, and all of a sudden they want to fight because they perceive that as a threat. Like, that's the type of psychological bullcrap that's been going on there. And I see a lot of these indoctrined Israeli people vehement about continuing to engage in behaviors of genocide and align with more or less trying to lie about how best for all of us to be fine with it, pushing all these different narratives. They're taught that this is what is a means to their own survival, that this is what is meant for them from the Most High, that this is what they're supposed to be doing, that the very essence of a Arab person surviving without full and utter compliance to their supremacy is equivalent to their own suffering, and that they have a right to apply that suffering first so that it doesn't come their way. Now, I remember a song that I heard from the Hot Boys back in the day, Shoot First. I used to listen to that song all the time. It sounded like a Jamaican song. They put a twist on that. And he was always talking, in the song, they were talking about shooting first. They shoot first. They ain't waiting for you to shoot, because at that point they've already been shot if you know what you're doing. So they're going to shoot first. This is the Israeli mentality too, as it pertains to the Arabs. They're going to apply suffering to those people first and not allow for any type of retort. They're going to put their suppression. They're going to kill their kids before they even grow up to be the terrorists that they believe they're going to be. They don't care that there is a chance, or a great chance even, that those kids aren't going to grow up to be terrorists. They're not going to allow them to grow up to be anything. So if they were to become terrorists, they will never be that. And if they happen to suppress the lives or snuff out the lives of good people, well, that's just something that they're willing to do, because if they don't kill every Arab, they're going to lose all the Jews. That's mental abuse. It's child abuse, that you would put that in a child's head and grow a person up to be that way. And they join the IDF, killing kids, thinking they're doing the right thing, and they're hated for it all over the world. You were abused. They indoctrinated something in your head that would make you the enemy of the world so that they could prop up themselves on the backs of your deaths, on the backs of the people you killed. I see a field of people, of children abused mentally when I look at Israeli graveyards, fleets of lost oppressors that were indoctrinated from birth to oppress. Did they deserve to die? Yes. But were they not victims of what it is that was applied to their brains? Of course. And they're doing the same thing to their kids. It's the same thing that was done to them, same thing that's done to them. Every time I see an Israeli open their mouth, I say there's somebody who was abused mentally as a child. There's somebody who was given something as a child that would make them the enemy of the world. There's someone who never had a chance to be loved by a stranger because they immediately came out the womb taught how to hate, taught how to oppress, taught how to welcome death to innocent people, taught how to call themselves victims in the name of religion when they're doing all the bullying, and to be able to sleep sound doing so. You have been abused. Your mind has been indoctrinated with something that was meant to weaponize you against others. It was not meant for you to be supreme. It was meant for you to kill and die. That's exactly what it's meant for you to do. And nobody's going to tell you the truth because they have been indoctrinated within that to not tell the truth. Just like we here in this country have been indoctrinated to not be offended by oppression and genocide and slavery and all these different things that our country has ultimately done to build this thing up. We're supposed to be fine with it. We were taught to pledge allegiance to the flag as a black person who was a victim of all the different things, history, and my family history. As a foundational black American, we have been enslaved for 400 years, and we're still aligned with the flag. Every time they raise that thing up, in my culture, I'm supposed to put my hand over my heart and swear to this thing like it didn't do all that it did to the people that came before me, and do all the things that it's doing to the people that I'm not able to see in places that I'm nowhere to be found. It's wickedness. It's indoctrination. It is absolutely a perversion of morality and humanity that is agreed upon. And if we're going to agree to do that, then there's no wonder we can see other people who have more warped ways of being indoctrinated agree to the things that they agree to. You look at what's going on in certain places, they agree to do this, they agree to do that. That's stuff that we would never go along with. Those are levels of depravity that we can actually identify as depravity. As to where them, that's more of what is cultural. It's not weird in Israel to engage in sexual assault. That's not strange. Here, it's like the worst thing in the world. There, it's like, oh, this is what we do to people who are terrorists. And who are terrorists? People who don't allow for us to be supreme over them. Anyone who's Arab, who says that word that's good, that's actually bad in our language, they deserve to be raped and pillaged and murdered, and the kids have to be wiped out to protect us. All of it is to protect us. If we don't do it, then hell and fire and brimstone is going to fall on our heads. They're going to dominate us and do those things to us. So we got to do those things to them first. Shoot first. That's the indoctrination of Israel. And what they're fighting to do, Zionists are fighting to do, is to assure that not only is that able to stand, but that it can expand. So they can press those norms and those indoctrinations upon the entire world. So that everybody's comfortable with sexual assault, so that everybody's comfortable with pedophilia, so that everybody places the Jewish faith above their own, the supremacy of Jewish people above their own, so that everybody looks at black people like they're lesser than, that everybody looks at people who are brown and Arab as if they're going to be the killers of the world and need to be annihilated before they're able to do so. Shoot first at Arabs no matter what. They want all of us to think that way so that we'll all be willing to not only annihilate the Arabs, but ultimately be fine with their suffering as it's done. This is not anything less than abuse of the mind. We're being abused. All of us. By devil worshippers, people who want to see the world burn, who want only a few people to be supreme, who want everybody else to serve and die for their ability to be supreme, so that they can bring about sacrifices to the enemy of God. You know, something else I was meditating on last night that I'll share with you guys. Learning about Baal, about Moloch. But from I misspoke in a couple of videos ago and said Amalek. Amalek is not Moloch. I meant Moloch. One of two gods that are of the devil, so to speak. They're not gods, but these people, these Israelis, that's who they serve. While they tell you they're Jewish, they actually serve Moloch and Baal. And essentially what Moloch and Baal are about is sacrificing of human flesh to empower human beings. The more babies you pour into Moloch and Baal, the more power and the more efficiency you gain as a people. So as long as you're willing to invest in the slaughtering of innocent people in the name of Moloch and Baal, you too can gain supremacy and efficiency. This is what they actually believe. But what I come to meditate and understand that the Lord was putting in my heart is what I've been doing in my own life, which is adding people to a prayer list and praying for people, actually has that effect, not the other way around. That you can pray and want for the betterment of people, and the more people you pray for and ask for the betterment of people, the more favor you gain, the more efficiency you gain, the more power you gain, the more confidence you gain. It is not killing people that has that effect. It is the opposite. Just like everything else that the devil wants you to think. The reality is it's the opposite. Just like they do with the language, good is bad in this regard we talked about. It says also how that works as it pertains to what will actually get you the spiritual and worldly efficiency that you're looking for. It doesn't come from sacrificing babies to Baal. It comes from praying for people to God. And that the more people you add to your prayer list, the more strength you gain, the more efficiency you gain, the more favor you gain. The more people you help, the more people you are unselfish with and give a helping hand to, the more favor you gain on high. Killing has that opposite effect, and killing innocents definitely have that opposite effect. But forgiving people, that's what they're after. That's what will get them what they want. Following the devil will have them doing the opposite of everything they should. Killing people for Baal and Moloch don't get you the power and efficiency they're looking for. Praying for people in the name of God and helping and forgiving people in the name of God has that exact effect. That's what I was told that's what came to me last night in my meditation as well. The devil's a liar, deceiver. He wants you to do the opposite of what will help you. He wants you to suffer. He wants you to do the most difficult thing for God to pallet you doing, so that God will throw your soul in spaces that the devil will find himself in when this is all said and done, trying to drag you to his fate. So he's going to definitely have you engaging in mistakes, thinking that doing this will get you that, when actually doing something else will get you what you're looking for. And I tell you, man, you will gain no good from harming children. You will accomplish no long-term success, no long-term paradise from sacrificing children to anybody. That is the very thing that will make it so that God does away with your soul entirely from engaging in that. Do not let the devil lie to you as he's lied to so many. Do not allow him to indoctrinate your mind as he has indoctrinated so many. You will not gain any good from doing bad. And that you do word games with bad and good does not change the reality of actions equaling such. So don't let these men and women fool you, thinking that they can convince the world and thus be absolved from consequence. That is not how that works. As I've said many times, it's not me that you need to convince. It's God you will need to convince. You can have me fooled all day long. You will not have the Most High fooled on anything you do. So while they're going around trying to make the world agree that it's fine for them to do the evil that they do, as they've learned to agree to do the evil that they've done, they have not changed the Lord's mind on any of it. And so this is what I want to say to all of y'all. Your forgiveness will be what gains you the support and the favor and of efficiency, focus and alignment with something that will ultimately provide you good favor. It is not sacrificing any children to anyone. The devil's a liar, a deceiver, and a coward. He's at war with the truth. He's at war with God. He's at war with himself. He's at war with mankind. And if you follow him anywhere, he's going to lead you to the hell that's ultimately meant for him. That is it. That is it. If it's aligned with bad energy and it's meant to hurt people, it's of the devil. Compassion is your true north. I've told all of you, and I meant this, no matter what religion you're in or non-religion, belief, whatever. Compassion being your true north will get you further in life than allowing for these type of ideologies and for the matters of the world, things, substance lacking things being your true north. If you allow money to be your true north, you'll find yourself where Donald Trump is. And it's that simple. You allow feeding your demons to be your true north, you'll be where Benjamin Netanyahu is. Hated by the world, man. Destined to fail or whatever it is that's coming next. Destined to fail. Strangle hell by your own lies. Knowing that your thereafter is going to be filled with judgment and suffering. And Donald Trump can do whatever he wants to do, but he know he ain't got that much time left. He'll be in the thereafter very soon. As an 80-plus-year-old man with health problems, he's going to be in the thereafter very soon. He can do all this dumb shit he's doing right now. He'll be in front of God before you know it. And he ain't going to be able to lie his way out of that confidence, thinking his way out of any of that shit at all. Judgment, it will be just that, judgment. And he ain't going to be able to pay his way through that. He ain't going to be able to manipulate his way through any of that. He ain't going to have no money at the pearly gates. It ain't going to be a dime in his pocket. A lot of y'all thinking money is the end all be all, man. I'm telling y'all, you're doing business with the devil. He going to take all that money from your kids. You ain't going to even pass it to nowhere. A lot of y'all been in charge for a long time. Y'all been controlling the world a long time and hoarding the wealth for a long time. A lot of you, these families, certain families, they know who they are. The world you're in is not the world you controlled for a very long time. You allowed for something to come into your midst called the internet. The internet is your Achilles heel. It is your kryptonite. It is ultimately what you should have never let be possible. It made it so that there is a variable that you can't control in the midst, sharing information amongst people that ultimately you need to be ignorant in order to effectively align with what it is that you and your ancestors have always aligned with. Your wealth is at risk. I just want to let you know that. And nobody will tell you the truth because you're likely surrounded by yes men and people who wouldn't dare defy you. But let me tell you, your wealth is at risk. You've created blind spots. You've created variables. You're toying with minds that are very, 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 very intelligent and creating conditioning pockets that ultimately do not align with what you need them to. Minds that you don't necessarily want to influence in a way that ultimately will change the world. They will be. You are not gods. Your practices have been disgusting. The things that you did in the name of money were never worth it. So what I want to say to those families, the things that you did to assure that money stayed in your families were never fine to do. Those things should have never been done. That you could not hoard forever. And that forever was a lot longer than you could understand or wrap your mind around. And that's what the Lord has put in my heart to tell some of y'all. If not, anybody who's listening to me that's from one of those families, the best thing you can do is to crack open the vault and start incorporating some of that wealth into the people you took it from. The money you held from others, your saving grace is to assure that they receive it. A lot of y'all did so much to assure that that money stayed in the family. The only way that you're going to be able to maintain going forward is to do away with those practices. I tell you the truth. Though many of you are at war with it, few of you won't be. It's time to share now, man. It's time to crack open the vault on some of that old money, and it's time to start caring about and bettering people that you've long stood on the backs of. It's time for redemption. Empower others to wealth, man. That is your way forward. Empower people who've never had anything into positions to get the reparations they deserve. Not just my black people, but many people that you've done this to. Done whatever you have to whom. A lot of those old secrets are going to be unearthed. Secrets that you don't even think is possible to unearth will be unearthed. Things that you don't even know you are going to be learned. And see, that's another thing. A lot of y'all have kept a lot of secrets from y'all kin. A lot of secrets have been kept from you too. A lot of y'all been indoctrinated to be the certain way that you are, to assume that the only way forward is to keep doing the things the way you did. I believe the Lord is going to start revealing some things to a lot of y'all, and you ain't going to feel the same way your ancestors did. You're going to be wondering what your saving grace is. It's your unselfishness going forward. Passionate expressions of compassion is what your saving grace will be going forward. You know you got $1 trillion? You need to start investing in the cultivation of people who have none. That is your saving grace. A lot of people are suffering in the name of capitalism. And there are a few people who have it all, literally all. The best thing they can do for their legacies going forward is to assure that that is not the case anymore. Capitalism is bad for us going forward. I'm just telling you the truth. Capitalism is bad for us. And it's leading us down a path that we don't want to be on going forward. I don't know what the way is. I don't have the system in mind that's going to work. I don't doubt that people have done the best they could do in a lot of cases. This has worked, but it works into a point, and I think we are getting to a point where that point is being reached. We need to start thinking about how we're going to maintain ourselves going forward, because the culture of uprising is coming. The culture of no tolerance is coming. The hiding places are going to be found. The bunkers are going to be cracked open, and you guys are coming out of them. I'm just telling you the truth. A lot of y'all think y'all going to be able to hide. Not on this earth. This generation may not be the generation to do it to you, man, but there will be generations in the future where everything I'm saying is going to come to pass, man. You can't hide. Some of y'all billionaires, trillionaires, y'all can't hide, fam. You ain't going to be able to hide behind them armies. You ain't going to be able to hide behind them nukes. You ain't going to be able to hide in them spaces and these islands that you're trying to find for yourselves. They're going to be cracked open like a can of sardines, fam, and they're going to pull y'all asses up out of there. And what you're going to want to have done was exactly what it is I just suggested for the last 6 minutes. You will have wanted to have enough good equity with good people who don't have much so that they will protect you in the event the world starts closing in on y'all for all the evil that you've done for so long. This is your way out. When you start looking for solutions, that is your solution. You got to share, man. And a lot of y'all, within what it is that you were structurally taught to do, what you think is most responsible, have been taught that sharing equals destruction. But that is an opposites day conversation, just like every other we've had on this channel. That's opposite. I don't believe fear-mongering is the way to go, but sometimes the only way to tell people the truth is to put a little fear in them, man. Sometimes the only way to help people understand what love is to share with them the reality of what it is that they've done and how it can bring about consequences that are very scary. Very scary. Not pushing fear as a means of controlling people, but pushing reality that may be something that scares people. And as it pertains to y'all 1%ers, you billionaires and future trillionaires, and you families and descendants and silver spoon carriers, with the world that we're in, you got one or two options. You get off of it, find a way to go to space, create some bunkers out in space, something like that. I'm so serious. Or you share some of the wealth. Because when people start really uprising like they're going to uprise, it's going to be unprecedented. With the oppression and the suppression that has taken place for as many years, it is just like anything else that's been suppressed. When it pops in exaggerated ways. You ever seen something boil with the top rattling and it slowly shakes and what's coming out of it starts to bubble out? You seen a volcano that's been laying dormant for 1,000 years and it finally pops? It's the same thing that's going to happen with those that you've been oppressing. That's the same thing. We've been sitting back generations being comfortable with y'all doing the things that you've done at our expense. We've been sitting here behaving and playing the game and not getting what we deserve from it. We have, through the years, raised our kids to be most responsible the way that you wanted us to be. All these different things for you to continue to do the same things that you did. When all of that fails us, and believe me, it is failing us. When all of that comes to naught and we collectively start to realize that, I'd imagine it's going to be a wave of violence that comes thereafter. Just violence. That's all I expect. People hunting people. And that whole eat the rich thing, it's going to be actually literal. Literal. And that's disgusting, to be honest with you. But as we clearly see, it's not above humanity to be cannibalistic. I'm just being honest. It's not above humanity to be cannibalistic. You've taught us that in these Epstein files. That y'all, in a lot of cases, have engaged in cannibalistic behavior. Your fate may be that very thing. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be this very, very well-behaved generation. I don't believe so. This well-behaved generation is not to be the generation that I think is going to be doing stuff like that. I'm talking 100 years from now, maybe 200 years, 300 years from now, whoever is left over from the indigenous people. When all of this gets us nowhere, all this bootlicking, all this white supremacy worshiping gets us nowhere, our kids, when they get the fallout of all that cooning we've been doing, they're going to be doing some crazy shit to y'all. I'm just being honest. The great-grandsons of the Palestinian people that you've done this to, the Lebanese people you've done that to, those who don't get genocided, and their friends, oh my God, man. You ain't going to be able to dig holes deep enough. You ain't going to have secure enough bunkers. No such thing will exist. And if y'all use these nuclear warheads and deteriorate the comfort conditions of this world, you're going to expedite what it is that I just described. There's a lot of y'all think, oh, we can hide behind our nukes. You let some of them nukes go, the people that are left, they're going to be crazy, fam. And they're going to be conditioned over time to be just crazy. Type of genocidal, like, you think you bad. You start deteriorating some of these conditions of people's comfort and let their kids grow without those conditions. Walking around abandoned, targets and stuff like this, abandoned for 300 years. And see what type of people are walking around them spaces. You don't even have the art that can help you understand what the hell coming in. It's going to look like something between The Walking Dead and The Goonies or something like that. It's going to be crazy, man. And like I said, people are going to be hunting people who did this to them. That's what they're going to be looking for. They're going to be looking for people who did this to them. So it would be wise for y'all to destroy them damn nukes, man. Send them out to outer space or something. It'd be wise for y'all to not let any of them things off. Because if y'all had that nuclear holocaust that a lot of y'all want to see happen, it's not going to go the way you think it's going to go. It's not going to kill everybody. And the people who are left, their kids, their grandkids, and their great-grandkids, who are suffering whatever comes of that, they're going to be looking for whoever's left who did this to them. And when they find them people, there's going to be some ungodly stuff done there. Ungodly. Make what the Israelis are doing to the Palestinians look like a massage, fam. Shit you not. So, take that as someone who can fathom the worst telling you that you should expect it if you keep on doing what you're doing. The best thing y'all can do to save yourselves from that reality is start giving some of that money back, man. And y'all got it to do it too. Let's start enriching some of these people's lives, man, so that their great-grandkids and great-great-grandkids don't know of all this oppression, don't know of all this pain that ultimately you passing forward to them. You do not want them being raised in that painful space. You think you do, but the world that you control now is not the world that your parents and your great-grandparents and so on and so forth controlled. It's a different world. It's a different world, and it's required different measures to keep it compliant to the presence of living oppressors. It's going to require different shit. I'm just telling you. I think there's a good chance that we are the last of the compliant to genocide. We are the last generation, the very last generation of people. The people who are alive today are the very last who are going to sit back quietly and push forward, bull crap as people are being slaughtered all over the world. I think that's pretty much over. I really do think that it's pretty much over. I don't expect that we're going to be doing this much longer. You got about 50 more years of that at the most. 50 more years of that at the most. Especially if y'all start letting off nuclear weapons. 50 more years of that at the most. And I've said this many times, I'll say it again. A lot of the people who are controlling these stuff, they don't care because they know they're going to be dead soon. It's like I said about Donald Trump. These people are going to be gone. They ain't got 10 years left. They don't give a shit about none of them. I'm saying it's incumbent upon those who are looking to take power from them, who will be around 30 years from now, to smarten up now. Your generation of AOCs and stuff like that, y'all need to smarten up. My generation, the 40-year-olds, the 30-year-olds, the 20-year-olds are the ones who are walking around now, who know genocide's going on, but you're still doing what the ancestors did, still being compliant because you think that's most responsible. Y'all need to start thinking about some shit that you're not thinking about. Because y'all gonna be elderly in a world that is messed up. Because of what it is that you pass forward, man. We're gonna be elderly in a world that is horrible, that you're gonna need energy to survive in. I'm just being honest. Bdf 44, I thank y'all for watching.